Alcina Dimitrescu, the High Matriarch of House Dimitrescu in Resident Evil Village. She was born in 1906, and by 1950 she found a lady named Mother Miranda. Now, she was 44 years old and almost at the end of her lifespan. This lady, Mother Miranda, offered her immortality and strength in exchange for her humanity. Lady Dimitrescu agreed with her and went on to become one of her experiments. She was actually 181st experiment, as we can see in one of the files. Mother Miranda introduced the Cadu to her and infected her with it. Now, she was actually quite capable and was in strong compatibility with the Cadu. As Mother Miranda found this out, she made her one of the candidates for becoming a vessel for Eva. Now, after some time, they soon found out that Lady Dimitrescu was actually suffering from a blood disease which is hereditary. It came from her family, and because of which she has to consume human blood and flesh in order to retain her regenerative powers. So, as Miranda found this out, she deemed her unfit for a vessel for Eva, her daughter, and so she gave her a castle and 3 daughters named Bella, Cassandra, and Daniela. Now, being one of the 4 houses in Resident Evil Village, Mother Miranda actually favored her a little bit. Not much, just a little bit. And because of which, Lady Dimitrescu thought of this as an act of favorability just with her. So she was quite confident that Mother Miranda would never betray her. And as we can see in the opening scenes, Mother Miranda is actually impartial with all the 4 houses, and Lady Dimitrescu clashes with Heisenberg because of her decisions. As shown in the opening scenes, it's clear that Lady Dimitrescu resents all men because she calls us a man thing, which I think is pretty sure she is an feminist SJW. So Lady Dimitrescu is in an argument with Heisenberg as to who would get eaten.
Arguments. Some of you were less persuasive than others, but I've made my decision. Heisenberg, the man's fate is in your hands.
Mother Miranda, I must protest. Heisenberg is but a child, and his devotion to you is questionable. Give the mortal to me, and I will ensure he is ready.
Shut your damn hole! And don't be a sore loser! Go find her food somewhere else.
Quiet now, child. Adults are talking.
I'm the child. You're the one who's arguing with Miranda's decision.
You wouldn't know responsibility if it was welded
Oh,
to
keep
that
glory! One day your head will actually fit your ego!
Hey, don't I get a say in this?
Silence!
She offered Miranda that she would make Ethan into a fine wine. And as the House Dimitrescu was pretty good with their wines, their maiden blood wines were their specialty. So Lady Dimitrescu went on ahead to ask Miranda's permission to get Ethan to make him into food. So as the story went by, Ethan survived and went into her castle. Now, she is actually the first boss of Resident Evil Village, and mind it or not, she doesn't have that much of a backstory, not even gameplay time. So she then finds out that Ethan was going around in her castle and catches him. And along with her daughter, she tries to execute Ethan, but all of her daughters die, and ultimately she was left with no children. And so she thought that she herself would hunt Ethan down, which was a big mistake because, as we can see, the further on we get, we see her powers in show. Her claws, her regenerative abilities, along with more of her abilities. And as we go on ahead, we found a few notes that there is a certain knife which will help in killing Lady Dimitrescu. So the knife is actually in a coffin with a corpse. So Ethan goes on ahead to retrieve that knife, and he actually successfully gets it. But Lady Dimitrescu catches up to him, and Ethan is forced to stab her when she is stabbing him. That's a pretty good exchange, I'd say. But Ethan ultimately loses the knife and the fight begins. She transforms into a dragon-like beast because why not? And also because Dracula contains the Latin word Dracu, which means dragon. So as we can see, she transforms into a dragon and the boss fight begins. And in the boss fight, there is only one vulnerable spot on her body, that is her main body. And the rest of the dragon-like body is totally immune to damage. Now, because we have stabbed her already with the dagger, she can actually die now. So in the end, she succumbs to the wounds and Ethan ultimately kills her. And she calcifies into a pretty weird state, like I've talked about it in the past video. Like also the daughters have calcified into such state. Now, as we move on from the Resident Evil Village story, we also have some different facts about her. Like, she was actually an inspiration from two creatures, the Lovecraftian Dracula and the Hachisake-sama, a Japanese folklore lady who is 8 feet tall, wears hats, and also feasts on humans. So yeah, pretty similar to Lady Dimitrescu, I'd say. She also has winemaking in her family, as we can see the maiden's blood wine we find in the cellar. She makes wine from the blood of all the maids that she captures or she recruits in her castle. Now, many people fear her because of such incidents that people go missing whenever they go in the castle. So yeah, Lady Dimitrescu actually eats them, if you don't know. She consumes those who enter her castle with or without her permission. And in the maiden demo, we can see that we are locked in a cellar, and when we try to run, she ultimately catches us and kills us. And hopefully she would make a good wine with the blood that she gets from the maiden demo girl. Now, the enemies, the ghoul-like pale creatures that you found in her cellar are actually the people that she drained the blood from. They, in my speculation, might be found because of her saliva entering their bodies, because she actually drank blood from them directly. So yeah, as we have seen in many TV series and shows like Castlevania and stuff, when a high matriarch, demon, Dracula, vampire, any kind of creature directly consumes blood or anything from a human and let them live, they ultimately transform into a ghoul or a zombie-like creature. But because this is an Eastern setting, I'm gonna call it a ghoul. Now, Because they transform into the ghouls, they do not have their own mind anymore, and they're just after flesh of human beings. That's that for the enemies. And the flying ones are actually those who have a higher concentration of Lady Dimitrescu's DNA and the Kadu in them. So mind you, Lady Dimitrescu is a sadist, and she also wears 3 roses on her dress, which represent her 3 daughters. Mind, if you haven't checked my video out, be sure to click the link up above to get to it. So Lady Dimitrescu is ultimately just a high royalty woman who loves to feast on maiden, and she also has a taste for Spanish music, mostly dance macabre, the dance of the dead, as we see in one of the rooms. She has a disc playing in the background. Now we can also pretty much speculate that Lady Dimitrescu had quite a bit of emotion related to Mother Miranda, because she actually loves Mother Miranda. She was getting kind of intimidated with her, if you don't mind me saying that. Now, we've seen clashes in different houses and stuff. I've already told you about it. And one more fact about Lady Dimitrescu: she hates men because she calls Ethan a man thing, and Heisenberg even more so because of his hammer. Now maybe next video I'll tell you more about the Kadud or one of the 4 houses, that because this is it for Lady Dimitrescu's story. The internet was actually kind of over bluffing. It was overrated. I'm just gonna say that. She is pretty good looking, and I love the memes too. So yeah, that's it for Lady Dimitrescu, and if there's some more facts about her, please make sure to tell me in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.